Hi there, everybody. This is just a quick video to explain the answers from last week's quiz. Most of you did fine on that quiz, but I just always want to go through the answers and make sure everybody knows what's going on. First off, I posted on the website that I had somebody on Wednesday who submitted a quiz without putting their name on it. Right after I got that, I went back and changed the name space so it was a requirement to fill that out. But if you did submit a quiz that didn't have your name on it, let me know because you probably do want the credit for it. The first couple of questions on last week's quiz were asking you to switch back and forth between exponential and logarithmic form. And really, all you do is you write it with log in it and you flip around the last two numbers. So if I have 2 to the 5th equals 32, I change the positions of the 32 and the 5, and it ends up being the log base 2 of 32 equals 5. And pretty much the same thing backwards comes up on the next problem. Here I gave you the log base x of y equals z. Again, you're going to flip around the y and the z and switch it to exponential form. That's why it's x to the z power equals y. And pretty much everything else on the quiz involves dividing logarithms in one way or another. The next question asked you to figure out what is the log base 3 of 243, and all you do is you take the log of 243 divided by the log of 3, and if you do that right, you end up getting 5. Again, it's always log of the big number divided of log of the base, so log 243 divided by log 3. You do basically the exact same thing when it says 7 to the x equals 5,764,801. You take log of the big number and then divide it by log 7, and that answer is 8. Now, when you do a problem like that, you do want to make sure that you close the parentheses after 5,764,801 so that you don't take the log of everything else to the end. And you had one more question that was pretty much the same thing. If you have the problem 5 to the x equals 13, this one's going to be the log of 13 divided by the log of 5. And the other question that was along that line, you had 7 to the x equals 11,111. Again, you take log of the big number, 11,111, divided by the log of 7. Make sure you did close the parentheses in the middle there, and you do end up getting an answer that's about 4.787. Now, if you totally forgot how to do that, another way you could do that problem is just to take the different answers, take 7 to those powers, and figure out what's the one that's close to 11,111. And while none of them is exactly that, the last choice is by far the closest. That's a strategy you can actually use, like if you get a question on ACT that you don't know the right answer to, is plug in the choices and see which one works. And the last problem on the quiz from last week, you had 5 to the 2x plus 1 equals 390,625. Here, the only real difference is I've got more than just x in the exponent, but what you want to do is take log of 390,625 divided by log 5. You start off exactly like you would on every other problem like this. And then what I do is I get rid of all the rest of the stuff in the exponent. Since it says plus 1, I subtract 1. Since it says 2 times, I divide by 2. If you do all of that, you end up getting 3.5, which was one of the choices, and that's the answer that you do have for this one is 3.5. Again, you divide the big numbers for logs, and you solve the rest of it just like you would an Algebra 1 problem. Minus 1 divided by 2. So that's a quick recap of last week's quiz. And I just want to point out to you that you do have sort of an Easter present this coming week because there is no quiz that will be coming up this week. There will be some notes and an assignment that you want to get started looking at anyway. But all I want you guys to do is to come up with some story problems of your own. That's going to be explained in the video for this week. And you'll get credit for doing that, but it isn't a real quiz where you have to solve stuff. So take care and have a good week.